So the recording has I have on. You please put your attendance. I hope all of you have put your attendance, right? Yeah. So I think we will start this class. Actually, today is the probably I'll say the last content we have in our syllabi, that is talking about Indian drug regulations to some extent and the governing body. So I have one slides from the Central Drug Regulatory Authority, one presentations for that, and one or two slides for supplemental material. I'll be discussing on that. I think you can hear me and the screen is getting shared. I think, yeah. This is based on a seminar from the Drug Regulatory Authority. And I'll be going through it, some important point and some other things we'll be discussing. So drug regulation systems in India we are talking about. So essentially the governing body and how it is organized, this will be the point of discussion. I think you can see my screen. Okay. And primarily when we are talking about this drug regulations, so Indian Drug Regulatory Act, some very small synopsis will also be discussed. But what is the Drug Regulatory Authority in India? What is their primary focus? Like FDA we discussed, you remember? And similarly for Drug Regulatory Authority in our country, they have some specific requirement, or I'll say rather intent. The agency develops and implements most of the legislations and regulations relevant to pharmaceuticals. Not only pharmaceutical, rather I will say even including biologicals, vaccines, and other allied products. The main responsibility is to ensure the quality, safety, and efficacy of the drug and accuracy of the product information. Like FDA, these points are nearly similar. This is done by making certain rules for manufacturing. As I was telling, this is actually part of GMP: procurement, import, export, and distribution, supply and sale of the drugs, product promotion and advertising, clinical trials, how we are going to follow in Indian regulations. Those points are there. Now, these are the primary things we are talking about. Now, when we are talking about functions of the regulatory authorities, product registration is one of the part. For example, new molecules or bioequivalence of pharmaceutical drug evaluation, these things are monitored. Regulation of the drug manufacturing, import and distribution, regulation and control of drug promotions, drug adverse reaction reporting systems, and they have certain labs and laboratories that we'll be talking, licensing of premises, person and practice. So primary objective and main goals would be safety and efficacy and quality of the drug. So these things are actually being controlled and monitored, rather administered through the Central Drug Authority in case of India. So here, the regulatory system structure, if we see, we will have the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which will have wings for National Drug Authority. State level also it is being monitored, but sometimes the roles are not really very clearly distinguished. Sometimes they can be overlapping also. And this body is controlled by CDSCO New Delhi. And in state level also you'll have State Food and Drug Administration and health and family welfare wings in the state take part. So mainly the CDSCO will be primarily responsible authority under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which regulates the drug and drug distributions, authorization of the drug, and relevant attributes and regulatory control, quality, safety, efficacy. Primarily governed by Drug and Cosmetics Acts 1940, even in 2013 also, we have some amendments and addition of schedules. These rules are made for state governments licensing and manufacturing and sale premises. Central government will for the import and permission for marketing new drugs in the country and conduct of clinical trials. So these are the primary rules. But I will go to the website also, CDSCO, and some differences may be there. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare will be responsible for all government programs related to this, including the health. Now here, when you are talking about this is the main important point I need to talk about. Department of the Health, when we are talking, Central Drug Standard Control Organization is the primary authority for approval, licensing, monitoring of the pharmaceutical and biological products. It will also have some of the laboratories which is conducting on regulatory basis for clinical trials. It will also have drug analysis and drug analysis laboratories, central government. In some 6 laboratories are there, whose role I will be specifying in coming slides. This is the primary governing body, national regulatory body for Indian pharmaceutical and medical devices. Yeah, we also have a list of medical devices which are approved in India to be used and import. And here also within this CDSCO, we will have Drug Control General of India, which is regulating this pharmaceutical and medicinal device under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is the you will have some sub office in different states. We will have not different zone wise classification. We have the sub office which can actually do, and some laboratories, 7 laboratories are also located in different parts of the country. The role of the laboratories I'll be talking in some other slides. So this is the organizational structure, which is being headed by Drug Controller General India. Here headquarters will be there at New Delhi, in zonal office, sub-zonal offices, some port office, and the laboratories for primary role for laboratories will be testing of the drug sample, validation of the test protocol, and if there is any legislative issues related to any formulations or problem find in some formulations, in those cases for validation and testing, these laboratories are primarily being utilized or their role. So this is just general structure. How they will function here, function of this will be to protect and promote for public health. Here Central Drug Research Laboratory Calcutta is the main statutory laboratories for the analysis of the pharmaceutical for its quality control and QC, all those information, QC of drug and cosmetics manufactured. And it will also have some other sister concerns laboratories spread across India to do those analytical aspects. Other functions what they will have: collection, storage, distribution of international standard, training of the drug analysts, training for from World Health Organization's fellows, and modern method implementation of the tools and analytical methods, other laboratories across India. So when Drug Controller General of India, whenever someone is responsible, who will be for approval of new drug, medical devices, clinical trials, how it will be conducted. And this is advised by the drug technical advisory will be there, drug consultative committees will be there, so they are actually supporting units for that. So this is the structure you can see. I'll skip these things, these are not really for us. What is the function of these things is important. So their function will be, for example, here advise the central government and the state governments on the drug technical advisory board, and there will be separate wings for this Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani drug compendiums they will be using. Approval, for example, yeah, this thing I will be discussing again in another slides, how the new drug applicants for new compound so intended for new drug applications is coming into CDSCO headquarter examination. Like you have remembered in the FDA also, similar structure is followed here again. So new application will come, it will come to headquarter examination for new drug approval process, review will be done, and recommendation followed by this approval is going to happen. So you can have state authorities also. I'll skip some of the slide, not of them. Now I'll come, this is from PowerPoint from CDCS laboratories. So I will be coming into another slide, which is actually from CDCO website, some information from that, which will be more relevant here. This slide is already known. So it has some subdivision office, zonal office, these things we already talked. Now what is their how they are getting guideline or how it is going to be controlled. So basically in this case, you please point out here, Directorate for General and Health Service, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India is the national regulatory authority, which is headquartered at New Delhi, and these are the components or structural units for that. It is governed by the Drug and Cosmetic Acts 1940, 45 and subsequent amendments been made, which is responsibility for central and state regulator for regulation of the drug and cosmetics. Drug and cosmetics includes all other formulations as well. It envisages uniform implementation of the provision of the acts and rule under ensuring the safety, rights and well-being. CDSCO is constantly striving upon to bring transparency, accountability and uniformity in maintaining the safety, efficacy as well as quality of the medicinal products and devices, not only products, what is being manufactured, imported and distributed in the country. So these are their major role. Now individually we will be talking of them, what are the important components they can have additionally. So this will be the additional responsibilities on conduct of clinical trials, laying down the standard of drug. Standard of drug means what should be the concentration, what should be the permissible impurity. Those classification and regulation is also being done. Control over the quality of the imported drug, what are the molecules you are importing, raw material or formulations, by providing expert advice on view of the bring about uniformity enforcement of the Drug and Cosmetic Act. So this is a primary role. Additionally, this will be looking into the other specialized categories of drugs and formulations, blood and blood products, IV, vaccines and sera. So essentially including all the health and allied, including cosmetics. Now here you will see this, this slide is more intuitive because it is really giving all the important functions. This thing everyone knows, for every national formulary they will have import registration and licensing. Import registrations for new drug molecules, which is non-existent in India but already approved in other countries. They should be actually should be registered here first, then they should come under the new drug regulations. Licensing for other statutory bodies and units for blood, blank, vaccines, rDNA products, as we talked. Amendments and drug and cosmetic sense and rule. So time to time modifications, if it is required, it will be there. Banning of drug and cosmetics when permitted, very rarely it has been done. Sir?
For students registration, they are waiting. They
How
have
many?
paid fees yesterday, today.
Yesterday I have done, so maybe today.
Today. one guy Jeevan.
I don't remember, but I'll check.
Yeah, but for him the exam link has not come. It says that it's not registered.
If yesterday they paid fees, then it will not be registered. Then I have to do now.
He's waiting for the. That's why I wanted to.
Okay, after this class, I'll do. Okay. They also have the responsibility for banning of the drug and cosmetics, drug of test license, personal license, NOC and exports, testing of new drug molecule, and oversight about the surveillance and other associated activities. Now, when you are talking about, so I need to tell you the primarily things we will be discussing is bioavailability and bioequivalence. So if some formulation is already existing, already reference drug is available in country, and some manufacturing is going to produce some new blends having or claiming to have same equivalence or better or same equivalence if someone is claiming. So then this part is known as bioequivalence and bioavailability data. They should represent to be same. So they are going to validate this bioavailability testing when enter the system. This you know already. Bioequivalence means they will have the similar effect. So these kind of studies are also coming under these CDSCO. So they are having receiving the applications from the applicant requesting for the approval to carry out the BA and BE studies. So someone wants to do this study for proposing new formulations in the country or development of new formulatory drug is already existing. So if it is only something is already existing, this can be done, and the drug should be approved in India. So if this is the case, then someone can actually apply, some organization can actually apply for BA and BE studies. The Office of DGCA would like to ensure the demonstration of the safety, tolerability of the generic against corresponding innovators drugs. So whatever we already have the generic formulation earlier. So once this validation is compared and comparable for safe, then they can make the assessment on the interchangeability. So that means instead of this formulation, you can use this. That suggestion can only be approached when these things are actually conducted. If someone is, this is actually a very big guideline, some 70 or 80 page guidelines are there. I cannot include that. So how they should actually approach and how the guideline is recommending about the testing. The guideline is talking about the drug, guideline is talking about the clinical trial they will do. So procedures, state and government level procedures that they are implementing can be available in the list. We don't need all them. Now, similarly about biological and biological products, what the government of India is going to control and regulate to CDSCO. Some of them can be varieties from natural sources, the drugs and some biologicals to treat. We already talked about them, which includes vaccines. Blood and blood products can be there. Allergenic extract can maybe also there, which can be used for diagnostics and treatment in some cases. Human cell and tissue for transplantation is also coming under them. Gene therapies, cellular therapies, and tests to screen potential blood donor for infectious agents such as HIV. So these testing and use of those pharmaceutical and products comes under biologicals, and all those categories come under the review of CDSCO. Now, as you are telling, it is not only for drug and cosmetics also. So these rules for drug and cosmetic acts will also be implemented over here, and how they are defining the term of cosmetics is really important here. So these are the definition here. Definition means strict definition rather. Any article intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, sprayed, and introduced into or otherwise applied to human's body or any part thereof, cleansing, beautifying, and promoting attractiveness or altering the appearance. So these things primarily looking into the not for internal use, for external use only. So these are coming, and they are also being regulated by manufacturing of the cosmetics, systems of inspection and licensing through the state licensing authorities. So this is also part when we are talking about drug and cosmetic acts and how they regulate in India. This is also being supervised in licensing authority appointed by central government. So these things also follow the same procedure. It is not that simply they're being imported into market. So they need to having the license to use in India. if there is something other than other compounds. They also need to have registered along with the pack size, variant, manufacturing premises before its import into the country. So these informations should be there. No cosmetics shall be imported in India unless the product is registered here under the Central Licensing Authority. So this thing is important here. Once it should be, someone is going to import something, must be registered here first. Then they can be imported or maybe locally produced depending on the provision they have made. No cosmetics shall be imported or manufactured unless it complies with the specification prescribed under the schedules what we have in for Drug and Cosmetic Acts. And in case the cosmetic is not included under this schedule, it shall meet the requirement under these rules and specification and standard applicable to the country of origin. So if you are looking for some products which is not having any equivalent products in India, then there should be always a provision to look into the provisions which is adopted in their country. So basically, what is the summary of these things? Very small few summaries are coming up. First summary is that what are the products the CDSCO is going to monitor in Indian territory, how they structured. They have the regulatory authorities in states. They will also have the analytical labs. They are actually guided by the committee which is going to give advisory committees in central level. They will also have the provision for what are the products. They will be talking about new drug. They will be talking about clinical trial. They will be talking about bioequivalent study, which require existing drugs should be there in Indian territory. Similarly, for cosmetics, also some provisions are there. The important provisions, these things, what I have included, these are actually specified in CDCSCO, their home. No cosmetic may purport a claim to purport any convey any idea which is false or misleading for intending user. But still, you can see there is still violations in India on that aspects. Now, when talking about a new drug, it should have the demonstration of safety should be there. And as we have learned in our earlier presentations when you are talking about FDA regulations and guidelines, the sum of the procedures are nearly same. So it is essential when some drug products for use in humans to be essential before drug products can be approved for import or manufacturing. So this should be also guided by the sub clause over there in drug and cosmetic rules and some schedules depending on what kind of products are they going to talk about. New drugs defined. What are the new drug cosmetic rules talking about? As the drug, including bulk drug substance or phytopharmaceutical compounds, which has not been used in the country to any significant extent under condition prescribed, recommended, or suggested in labeling thereof. That means something which has not been largely been used, but maybe some traditional uses may be there and has not been recognized already as an effective compound in our territory. So those molecules or formulations or compound can apply for registration as IND applications to CDSCO, and they can be come under new drug if approval is given. Licensing authority gives this approval. Vaccines, okay, this is for new drug, and vaccines for derived drugs shall also be new drug unless certified otherwise by the licensing authority. The new drug shall continue to be considered for the period of new drug as for 4 years since it is being approved. So this life expectancy for new drug applications and usage is only for 4 years. Once this period is over, the drug can be further be classified, or maybe it can be reused without this new drug applications licensing. So this will come as a existing molecule. Here, I think this is very small to see, but basically the approval process, as has been mentioned there, applicant will submit the application for with requisite fee, like FDA. Simply preliminary they're going to evaluate about their completeness of the applications. If not, that will go back to applicant. If it yes, the regulatory evaluation will happen on these applications. Then they will give for permission of the bioequivalent study if it is required, permission for doing clinical trials if it is required. So then they will be coming into subject expert committee, and we'll also have we'll get a review and we'll get NOC. The organization will get no objection certificate, for this bioequivalence or clinical trial. The data will be collected, review on this report will be conducted. If this thing is coming to be satisfactory, then they will go for final approval for using appropriate form and permissions will be given. It will be talking about on-site facilities inspection if it is required, where this manufacturing is being made, and then it may have the final approval. The other way, if it is not the case, the other wing will also go for CMC data. Satisfactory data is going to come over there. So they will go for the test report compliances, and finally they will go for the manufacturing and control part. So this is the outline how this molecular new drug substance and drug approval is conducted in India. There should also some import regulations will be there. I will be talking about them. And this is about the testing laboratories, which I introduced at the very beginning. What should be their role? This role is based on actually Central Drug Laboratory, Calcutta, whatever their primarily functionings. So they will be talking about analytical quality control and measure the imported drug available in Indian market. So the imported products are being analyzed on routine basis. Analytical quality control of drug and cosmetics manufactured within the country on behalf of Central Drug, State and Drug Controller Administration, as they will be requesting. Acting as an appellate authority in matter, I told you, when there will be some dispute related to quality of the drug. So if there is any concern raised, and this is being coming under law to validate its quality, then CDCC will be the appellate authorities finally giving the binding whether it is maintaining quality or not. So this part will be taken care. Other regulatory non-regulatory functions can also be there, where collection, storage and distribution of other international standard on reference preparation. So this will be taken from as international wings, and they will be collecting those informations and sharing the data. This will be also preparation for national reference standard and maintenance of such standard. So in our country, whatever formulation you are using, what should be the reference standard and how they are going to maintain for drug establishment. So the organization who are using and manufacturing some of the pharmaceutical, they will be always be connected with them. Training of these things they put it there. Training of the WH fellows when will be there to advise the CDC about this quality and toxicity of the drug awaiting license. This part is also there. So before licensing also they can take part to work out any analytical specification, preparation of monogram for Indian pharmacopoeia, if it is there, and homeopathy pharmacopoeia of India. So these two referencing standard they can also take. Undertake any analytical research and standardization methodology of drug and cosmetics. So they are going to develop these methodologies for analysis, analytical point of view. Quick analysis of life-saving drug, all Indian basis received under this thing, they can also do. In addition to this above function, CDL will actually collaborate with WH and other international organization on preparation of this pharmacopoeia, maintenance of standard on behalf of the Indian Pharmacopoeial Committee. So collaborative work on maintaining the IP regulatory and maybe uniformity in this IP standard across the globe. So this could be the major role. Primary role is for maintaining standard, if I summarize, resolving the dispute about the quality which is coming or maybe produced in India, having a control on import and existing drug which is already in market in India, and collaboration with other organization, national and international organization, on maintaining the standard and pharmacopoeial practice, whatever is being maintained and governed there. So this will be the primary role and components when you are talking about the central drug testing laboratories. That's all I think the primary things we wanted to discuss. So subdivision, division, about new drug, about formulation and organizational structure, that actually we wanted to highlight here. I think okay, anyway, I think I'll stop this presentation here. These two slides I'll be updating in your shared folder. You can check. Okay, and that's all. If you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions from anyone? This is very theoretical, very small thing to discuss. So I'll put this to drag. If you have no queries, then you can leave.